possible. Let's see how we can lighten your load. Go to coloradoenergyfoundation.org. Brought to you by the Colorado Energy Foundation and the Colorado Broadcasters Association.
Shop Safeway's Game Time 4 times points event and earn up to 4 times the points to redeem on gas and groceries when you purchase participating items throughout the store. Clip the offer in the Safeway app. Safeway, fresh foods, local flavors.
Mosher, Lombardi, and Kane. Altitude Sports Radio, 92.5.
Travis Hunter is he might go down as the most impressive and must-watch college football player of my lifetime anyway.
He's the best player in college football.
Yeah.
And I know it's week 1. And I know we have a lot of college football to watch. And I realize that we've seen guys play both ways before. I get it. I've never seen anybody play the entire game both ways, lock down the cornerback position where nothing happens on his side of the field, and make 3 of the most ridiculous plays offensively in the game.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything as thorough on both sides of the ball. He is the best player in college.
Oh, do we feel back? Because I feel so back after having an entire weekend of college football lead in, just 2 days away from the NFL opener to the season. There is so much that I would like to talk about because we can finally have a conversation about the Broncos, about a specific game, which is the Seahawks in a very, very tough opener for Bo Nix. So we'll get to all of that in just a few minutes. I want to start in the college football ranks, though. And we'll start with whatever that game was with CSU in Texas. I had a goal for CSU in that game, and it was somehow in the second half, try and keep it within 3 scores and make Texas sweat for a second. And outside the first quarter, where you got a pick, and you thought maybe there was a chance to keep the game close, it was nothing. Like just a whole bunch of nothing. A lot of 3-and-outs, no real extended drives, no real threats throughout the course of the game. You had 74 passing yards. At the end of the day, you ran the ball okay with Justin Marshall, but you got absolutely nothing going. And look, I am well aware of how good of a football team that Texas is. The amount of waves and waves and waves of players they can throw at you, especially if you're not on, quote, their level. Like, all of that makes sense. They're a really good college football team. And for the first time in a long time, when people talk about Texas and how talented they are, I'm not rolling my eyes during the discussion and be like, oh, yeah, really? What about when they finish 7-5 this year? Like, that's not them anymore. They have quarterbacks right now. Quinn Ewers will be a first-round pick, and his backup is Arch Manning, who might be better. You know, like, they're good. But you got to ask yourself a couple of questions here. If you're CSU, what do you want to be? And is the paycheck worth the embarrassment that you suffer in a loss like this? Like, when you're trying to turn the tide and you're trying to make announce a new day for the program, is it worth scheduling a game like that and getting your teeth kicked in for a couple $100,000. Now, the same thing happened a couple years ago when you played Michigan to open up the season. The score was almost the exact same. It would almost serve you better just to go out and play the team that's more at your level and get a W to start the season. Because that helped nobody. And it put a real damper. It's what really stinks is you get to this third year, Jay Norvell, you're so excited for the season, and then you kind of get curb stomped. And then the next question is, okay, well, all that excitement that I had is now dissipated. And it doesn't mean they still can't have the season that we're hoping for, that they can't go on a run in the Mountain West and play in the championship game or anything like that, right? But at the same time, it's like all of the stuff that you were excited about just went away in an instant. And now it feels like, well, damn, I guess we'll have to recalibrate some things. You know, it doesn't always work the opposite way, by the way. Ask Florida State, who is now 0-2 to start this year. I mean, about as bad of a 2-game stretch as you can have to open up the season, because they didn't schedule, like, I guess, a cupcake to open up the year. But they play Georgia Tech and they lose 24-21, and then Boston College is your next opponent. So they played them last night. And Boston College, I don't think, is a team that most people fear. They were okay last year. They were 6-6. But you start the season now 0-2, and you started this as the number 10 ranked team in the country. And a texture says 1.8 million is not a couple $100,000. Well, I don't know what the total number was. I'll take your word for it that they were paid $1.8 million to play that game. Is it worth that? Because here's an easy way to make some money, is to win football games and be competitive. And again, you open up the year with this excitement about Fowler Nicolosi and Torrey Horton and Henry Blackburn and a whole bunch of guys on this team, and then all of a sudden, you start from scratch again. Like, it's one thing to lose. I don't think anybody would have had a problem with CSU losing to Texas, but to lose the way that you did, I don't think it's worth that kind of money if you want to be a program that is trying to be taken seriously. And so it stinks. It's not the way you want to open the year for them. Around college football, you had some pretty big-time matchups. And we'll get to college football stock up, stock down here in just a little bit. But you get this great game between Notre Dame and Texas A&M, where Notre Dame comes out on top. You had what started as a decent game with Georgia and Clemson and ended the way that I think most of us kind of thought, where Georgia runs away with it. But you had a decent opening week of football in that USC-LSU game was fantastic on Sunday. And I like how college football, they take advantage of every day that the NFL is not going to be playing. We're going to play games on Sunday and Monday if there's no NFL games, because it's basically the only week they can try and get away with that until much, much later in the year. And the NFL does the same thing. The second college football gets into their like little bye-weekish bowl season stuff. NFL's like, screw it. We'll play Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, whatever days that are open on the calendar. Let's do it. But a good opening week here for college football. And now, like I said, you get the ability to actually talk about a specific game with the Broncos. Like, you are now preparing in less than a week. You're going to have the Seahawks in Seattle. And the big question that I have heading into this game, it's going to be more over the course of the first few weeks of the season, because it's a tough stretch. Now, their schedule throughout the year isn't some gauntlet. It's not impossible. But you open up at Seattle, then you have Pittsburgh at home, and then it's at Tampa and at the Jets. You got to get at least one. And if you really want to build some excitement, I think a 2-2 record with that opening sort of slate is a pretty reasonable goal to set up. Like when you get to the point you're playing against Seattle and you got a rookie quarterback going into what is one of the more hostile environments in all of the NFL, and you get the added sort of multiplier of it's the opening week of the season and every fan base feels like their team has a chance, like that place is going to be loud. And that's where you're going to really get the test of this guy who started the most games in college football history, and he's going to step into a situation in his rookie year where he's taking over for a franchise that seems to be rebuilding a bit. Can you handle a little bit of that adversity? We're going to get an answer right out of the gates if Bo Nix can do that or not. And so now it's making an assessment of, okay, this is your starting 53. This is your starting skill position guys. How do they hold up? And I think it's a pretty similar conversation, I would say, to what to a few of the questions that I had with CU heading into game one. If the offensive line can hold up, and from the little that we've seen of Bo Nix in preseason, it still feels like he's a quick decision maker who gets the ball out quick and gets it out on time. Does that happen when the bullets are actually flying, when you're facing first-team defenses? Can he get the ball to Cortland Sutton quickly? Can he get it to Josh Reynolds and Marvin Mims? Can you run the football like you want to? Like, that to me is the most important question to a lot of this Broncos offensive season. If they run the football effectively, they might be able to mess around and be a decent football team. Better than projected, anyway. If they can't, and they have to rely a lot like they did last year on the strategy at times was Russell Wilson go win us a football game. I don't think that's going to fly. It's not going to work. You have to be able to help your young quarterback out, and the way you do that is by running the football and playing good defense. Now, for all the things that maybe Seattle lacks defensively now, and it's still weird to get my head wrapped around this, that Seattle that had, that great secondary and Bobby Wagner and that good defensive line with guys like Cliff Averill on there, that they have turned into a purely like, we need to outscore you type of team is still kind of bizarre in my head. Now, made some big pickups this offseason. Got Leonard Williams. Their cornerbacks are pretty good. Picking up Devon Witherspoon. Decent at rushing the passer with a couple of these guys. But if you can run the football against them, I think you got a really good shot to sneak a win on the road at Seattle. Now, we all have taken the look-aheads and what do the lines look like and what are the experts saying about the first week of the season. They've had these in place for months now. And you take a look at the point spread right now between the Broncos and the Seahawks. Again, in this tough environment that they're going to be facing, the Broncos are 6-point dogs, and I think that's a totally fair thing. You shouldn't be favored in this game. Now with a rookie quarterback on the road against a team that can put up some points. But run the football, have the defense hold up, you're going to be in decent shape. But I will say this, as the preseason has gone on, the intrigue level that I have with this team, especially with a little bit more of a surprise in the way that Bo Nix played in the preseason, like, this is one of the more anticipated years since I've been here anyway that the Broncos have had. And it's not because I think they're going to light up the scoreboard and score, 28 points a game and go out and win 11 ball games this year. It's just, can you build a foundation good enough to feel like, okay, you're on the upward trajectory? And they've done what I think are the smart things that they had to do in a, quote, rebuild that they won't say out loud, but look at the actions they've taken. Seems pretty clear. They drafted a quarterback in the first round. They cut bait with veteran players that had high price tags. They cut guys who are maybe more veteran and reliable for more of the youth. I don't think those are small details. And they said, let's give a rookie quarterback a huge investment in the offensive line, and let's make sure our defense is good enough in the trenches to stop the run and maybe create a little pass rush. It's a good foundation, idealistically. When you go to build a team, I think that's how you should do it. Now, the immediate results, can they be there? I don't know. To Sean Payton's credit, he has never won less than 7 games in a season in his coaching career. I think getting back around that number to 7 or 8 is totally reasonable. I think they need a good level of fortune to come with it, which is they need to stay healthier than most teams because they don't have nearly the depth that most teams have. But God, what a fun time of year. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day. We got a lot to get to this morning, college football-wise. Some audio clips I want to roll through. Joel Klatt was talking about the CU game. Remember, this guy was very optimistic about CU, and a lot about that game feels like sort of tempered his excitement. So we'll get to that in a few minutes as well. But how about this? The return of college football. Stock up, stock down next. Oh, don't you love to hear that sound? Don't you absolutely love it?
Pretty damn cool.
It is the return of college football. Stock up, stock down. And this is your introduction here, Nelly. This is your first go around at this thing. So I don't know if you know about this. It gets the people excited. So we got a full week, by the way, in the appetizer. Like, if you're one of the early risers, stick with us. You want to know why? Because not only do we have college football stock up, stock down starting this week, tomorrow, my NFL power rankings with tiers will come out, which nobody in the radio business does except for me. They do power rankings. Some do tiers. I do both. Whoa. Because I can't wait for this week. But we always start with the quarterbacks, Nelly, so give me a stock up, please. How about Cam Ward? Wazoo last year has a great season. Pac-12 dissipates. He has to find someplace to go, has to find a new home. So he goes to the U, and in the first game of the season, Miami goes down and demolishes Florida. Cam Ward, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. For the first time in a long time, I think Miami has a bona fide quarterback. They've always had guys in the past. Who was the dude? Tyler Van something. People have gotten attention. They have had hype as Miami's quarterback, but nobody's lived up to it. Cam Ward is going to, and I think he's going to make Miami a really, really good football team and something to be dealt with here throughout the course of this college football season. So he gets the stock up. Let's go quarterback stock down. DJ Uyunglele. I can never say his name. It's going to be between him and the Tennessee quarterback, Nelly. I am Aliava. I'm going to need help with both of these names. But DJ Uyunglele in year 6 as a quarterback, his third different team. He's now taken over for Florida State. So they lose that week 0 game. Because this is going to be a twofer for DJ. Lose the week 0 game against Georgia Tech. And now they lose yesterday to Boston College. That's a team who started in the preseason rankings at 10, who is now 0-2 against ho-hum so-so teams in college football.
Ia
Maleava. He will find himself, I think, on the stock up portion some point this year because he looked good his first week with Tennessee too. But going back to DJ, in 2 games, he's got 465 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick, and they're 0-2. That's combined stats, by the way, against 2 whatever teams in college football. This is year 6. Has to be better. So DJ, he gets a stock down. Let's go big. Used to be Pac-12 team. Now we go to Big 12 team stock up. Arizona State, 48-7 win over Wyoming. Is it a huge win? No, but Wyoming's typically a tough, grindy football team, and they won by 40 points. And there wasn't a lot of competition, Big 12-wise, that really surprised you in week 1. Not to mention Sam Leavitt, the quarterback for ASU, looked really good. So I'm going to give them the stock up to start the year. ASU gets that. Let's go Big 12 team stock down. I'm picking a team who got a win here. Again, it's bizarre talking about this instead of the Pac-12. But this is a team that got a win over the weekend, but they needed overtime, and that's Texas Tech, who beat Abilene Christian 52-51. If you're giving up 51 points to Abilene Christian and you can't stop them, good luck stopping some of the teams that got a lot more beef up front in the Big 12 Conference. Now, Texas is always sort of the run-and-shoot team, the one that always goes out and throws a 50-burger on the board and just hopes that that's going to be enough. But it's still a pretty bizarre concept that they damn near lost a game in week 1 to Abilene Christian, of everybody. So as we get to learn a lot more of these newer teams in this new re-looked Big 12 conference, I still punish teams for winning ugly. And this is going to be the case. If you schedule a game like this where it's not a tough week 1 opponent, this needs to look like a blowout in almost every case. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule. I think CU gets a little bit of a pass, not too much of one, for a close, sort of skinny your teeth win, but that's a better sort of FCS opponent. Abilene Christian, there's no way that game should be 52-51. So Texas Tech, they get the stock down. Let's go national team stock up. So said this, we had a good first week of college football with a lot of big games on the line. Georgia and Clemson. And one that I thought was the most fantastic game of the week and probably most impressive, the way USC looked with Miller Moss at quarterback was legit. Like, you always wonder the drop-off between a team that had a number 1 overall draft pick at quarterback. How are they able to come back from that? And the second biggest thing for USC is, can the defense hold up? Like, that's what held them back all of last year. They had that guy. They had Caleb Williams. They couldn't stop anybody on defense. And for them to hold LSU to a grand total of 20 points, I'm sure Caleb Williams is watching that game and throwing things like, where was that last year when I was playing? But it was the two big questions with USC. Like, I think that Lincoln Riley's under a lot of pressure to win this year. They have to. They're joining a new conference. They have to play a different style in order to fit into the Big Ten. And I think this was a great first look for them. They found a quarterback that seems to be incapable of taking over for the absence left behind by Caleb Williams. But more than that, they found a defense that can go out there and hold an LSU team to 20 points. You know, it wasn't always great. LSU still threw for 300 yards. But they held up. They stiffened up when they had to. And so I'm going to give them the stock up. Let's go national team stock down. This one's pretty obvious, isn't it? I know we already discussed one member of the team already, but for Florida State to not just get upset once, but twice? 2 different times? Yeah, you're going to be littered all over this because I got to smash 2 weeks into one now. And for them to lose 2 times to Georgia Tech and then to Boston College, of all teams, pretty wild to open up the year that way. And they started at 10. They will not be ranked again for the rest of the year. I don't care if they win the next 10 games consecutively. You are not allowed back in my top 25. Not mine. 0 opportunity. So they will get the stock down. Let's go Heisman, stock up. Yeah, guess what? This one's going to go to Travis Hunter because I don't think anybody did them any more favors than that guy in week 1. His ability to play defense for that many snaps and lock down one side of the field and then to go right back on the offensive side of things and put up 3 touchdowns, and every single one of those was sorely needed. Just at BetMGM right now, Travis Hunter's odds to be the Heisman, plus 5,000 is where they started before the season. They're already at plus 1,500. He rose that quickly with that performance, and I don't think that should be a huge surprise. If somebody can play that level on both sides of the football, it can trump what traditionally has been a quarterback's award for years and years and years. I know that they snuck in a Devontae Smith, and there used to be a couple of running backs in the mix, but it was going to be really hard for Travis Hunter to do this purely as a defensive player. You want to mix in that along with the offense. If he can, I'm not saying get 3 touchdowns a week, but if he's somebody that can have that type of impact every single week that he steps onto the field, there is going to be no question that this guy at the end of the year is going to be at the tippy top of that conversation and going to that Heisman ceremony, because it'll be quite literally something we've never seen before, and I'm here for it. Let's go Heisman stock down. You know, his numbers were good. They won the game. But not a lot of teams suffered as embarrassing of a first week as Oregon did. And that means Dylan Gabriel's going to get the stock down. Again, he threw for 380 yards. He was like 41 of 49 passing. And he had 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. But we all know with this quarterback award, it is tied into how well your team does. And so if Oregon, who was number 3 in the country and had to sneak out a 24-14 victory over Idaho, and I put Dan Lanning in the same conversation I do Nick Sirianni of coaches I don't care for all that much.
Thinking equals talent take over.
Yeah, they do a lot of crap talking. And when you do that, those Twitter fingers can't be as heavy as a 10-point victory over Idaho to open up the year as the number 3 team in the country. Dan Lanning was the guy last year that's saying we play for wins, not for clicks or whatever the hell he said. Well, maybe you should start focusing on the winning stuff a little bit more because that was wholly embarrassing. I get it. They had a lot of turnover on that team. Dylan Gabriel's another one of those 6-year starters in college football. He's on his 3rd team. So maybe it's going to take a second to gel. But 380 yards and 2 touchdowns, all of that looks great. But it's tied in with team success, so he's going to get the stock down. And then finally, let's get the upset of the week.
That's right, I said it.
I know I've mentioned them like every 2 categories here, but how can it not be Florida State again? Because you guys tell me, biggest upset of the week, if I were to eliminate both the Florida State losses, then what would they be? You know, you had upsets, but nothing as crazy and as oh my God as what you saw from Florida State to open up the year. 2 L's, 1 to Georgia Tech in week 0 last Saturday, and then 1 yesterday to Boston College, where they didn't just lose to Boston College, by the way. Nelly, Boston College was taking knees instead of scoring touchdowns at the end of the game. At Florida State's home stadium.
I am having a very bad day.
Which I think is more embarrassing. So there you go, our very first edition. College football stock up, stock down. God, isn't it glorious to be back, everybody? Isn't it?
And also, Brett, have you been following the saga of the Florida State fan who made a bet that he is now regretting? Did you follow this?
I didn't. You were kind of telling me about it. Give the people the whole context here. What's going on?
There was a user on Twitter, something like @321Knowles, and he tweeted out about a week ago, I think the week leading up to the game, he said that if Boston College beat Florida State, he would eat dog poop out of a red Solo cup using a spoon, and he would post the video on social media.
So this is if they lost, sorry, one more time, if they lost to who now?
To Boston College.
So just them.
Specifically if they lost to Boston College.
So this is after the first loss, and he's like, that won't happen
yes,
again.
Exactly.
I guarantee it. I'll do this if it does, okay?
Exactly. That was the context. And so yesterday, I believe when Florida State went down 14-0, he deleted his tweet. But as they said in the movie Superbad, people don't forget.
Correct.
So everybody started killing him online. So he went from protecting his tweets to deleting his account entirely. Then people started, especially after the result went final, then everybody started trying to track him down on all his other socials. He's deleted, I believe, Instagram, Facebook. He is going completely dark on social media trying to run away from this bet. And the internet doesn't forget, man. People are still going after him.
You got to be careful with that kind of stuff because it will come back to bite you. People will find it and they will come after you. No question, they will. And this guy, so he's deleted everything?
That's what I've heard. I mean, I haven't tracked him down personally, but there's this one guy, this one Barstool guy. I can't remember his name. I think it's Jack McNeil or something. He's been following the whole saga and documenting it as he tries to track this guy down. And he made it sound like this man is going completely dark trying to run away from this bet.
I'm sure that he is, because who wants to do that? By the way, here's the other thing with Florida State, and this is what really hurts. So this is happening more and more now. Nelly, not only are they 0-2, they're 0-2 in ACC conference play. Both of those are conference losses. Hard to come back from.
But it's okay. Those are both quality losses, so the committee will still put them in the playoff.
Well, think about this. Florida State, think about the 180 here. Remember, that was a team that went unbeaten last year and missed out on the college football playoff. So they're probably thinking, okay, it's revenge season. We're going to come out guns a-blazing with DJ Uiagalelei. And this transfer quarterback is going to take us right back to unbeaten seasons, and we're going to be at the top of the standings at the end of the year, and you open up the year like this, it's got to be like one of, if not the most embarrassing moment in that university's history for that football team. Just insane.
And I don't know what the city of Tallahassee did to Brett McMurphy, but if you were watching yesterday, he was clowning Florida State on Twitter. These were some favorites. He said, breaking, Florida State adding to its ACC lawsuits to force expansion of CFB playoff from 12 teams to 112 teams. Then he followed that up by saying, current ACC scoreboard, teams suing the ACC, 0-3. Teams not suing the ACC, 15-2.
It's pretty good,
Brett,
actually.
What did Tallahassee do to you, Brett?
I have no idea. By the way, some breaking news this morning. It seems like the Niners, they've just waited till the 11th hour to get these deals done. Remember, a few days ago, they got the Brandon Ayuk deal done, so he's going to be in uniform for the opening game. And then the questions were, is that all-pro left tackle Trent Williams going to get a contract? Turns out he is. This is from Ari Merov. The Niners and all-pro left tackle Trent Williams are finalizing an adjusted contract, ending his holdout and bringing him back to the team ahead of their Week 1 Monday Night Football game versus the Jets. So his agency has confirmed the deal is getting done. So all of that hubbub in the offseason about, are we going to pay these guys or not? Can we even afford them? Looks like they've found a way to do it. And both guys will be in uniform for Week 1. And again, a lot that I want to talk about with the Broncos Week 1 matchup, because this is a really interesting prospect of throwing a rookie into that stadium in Seattle. I think it's Lumen Field, against that rowdy of a crowd that is going to be out in full force and as loud as possible for Week 1 of the optimism season before things start to fall apart, because I don't think Seattle's going to do all that much this year. But Week 1, all bets are off. Crowd's going to be crazy. A lot to get to with that. Got some Joel Klatt audio I want to get to. Stick around. So I walk in this morning, long weekend. Hope everybody enjoyed Labor Day weekend. And it's always a ghost town in here. The only people that are here are me and Nellie. And then in the rest of the building, it's Jeremy from Mix and then Winston and Mel from Cool. Those are the only people that are in this place. And I walk in this morning, open the door, and I hear, "Hi." Scared the living hell out of me because I saw Nellie was in the production room and Vic's just sitting on the couch in our break room. The hell were you doing here?
Can't sleep. The sign of the changing of the seasons.
I feel that, actually.
Seriously. When you know the seasons are changing, is you have that one day where you can't sleep.
Yep.
Like I woke up at 3:30 this morning. Just sitting there.
I was
Read a
the
little
opposite. I went to bed at 12:30.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And I said, I might as well just go in because if I don't, I'll sleep through the whole damn show.
Right.
So here we are.
Hi.
Did I tell you what happened yesterday?
I don't think so.
I popped on my light and my Comrex yesterday morning, sat up in my chair ready to do the show, and it hit me after about 2 minutes of silence. What's going on here?
You guys, between you and Moj, there's always one of you on Labor Day or Memorial Day or something where you guys will go in and just do that. So how long did you sit looking at a blank screen until you realized that we weren't having a show?
For about 2 minutes.
Yeah. So did you go back to sleep after that, or was that done? You're awake now.
No,
Yeah.
I was up.
Yep. I know we'll get to this at 7 o'clock when Moja Lombardi and Kane starts, but welcome to the appetizer, first of all.
Hey, it's good to be here.
I enjoyed the holy hell out of that weekend. So here's what I had, Vic. So I was in a confined space. I didn't leave my house for 3 days because we had a potty training weekend for baby Jamal Kale.
So what does that mean? What
that means?
Because I remember those days, but I don't know what that means by not leaving the house.
That means we took her, grabbed all of her diapers, and, quote, threw them away. Didn't throw them away, but to her, we threw them away, and we said, no more diapers. We have to go on the big girl potty now.
Oh, yeah.
Which means we could not leave the house because she was definitely going to have an accident.
I did that with my 25-year-old last week.
Did you? Very good. How's he doing, by the way?
Not good.
Get your damn act together.
But I was just confined in the house, and I had football on the entire time, and I loved every second of it. Now, I'll tell you this, and we'll get into this in more detail, but just quick thoughts here from you, Vic. Is the $1 million or whatever CSU was paid by Texas worth that?
I don't know. It's funny. I have that written down right here. I had some notes, and I said, was that beatdown worth $1.8 million? It was worth $1.8 million.
So it was 1.8 is what they got paid.
But it was
a lot of money.
It was a beatdown on national television, the likes of which I haven't seen in quite some time. And it was never even a threat to be a game. That's the thing. I just wanted
I had one moment where they had that pick when it was 7-0 in the first quarter. They picked it off, and I was like, okay, get a score here. And then, nope.
My boy Chase Wilson, pride of Ralston Valley, came down with that interception. But then after that, they never threatened to do anything, and it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. You know what it shows? The disparity. Granted, there are a lot of teams that would go into Austin and get their butts kicked, all right? It's not just CU, or CSU, I should say.
Uh-huh.
But to open the season like that, it's just, you just hope it doesn't tear their heart up. You hope that they can. Now, they've got UNC this week, Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
So that's a nice rebound. You just don't want to lose all confidence before you get into conference play, before you play CU in 2 weeks. You don't want to lose all confidence. And, man, that game was lost again. Athletically, up front in the trenches, it wasn't even close.
Well, it's like, here's my thought, Vic. I think people were genuinely excited about this CSU season. Like, you got your quarterback and a really good wide receiver coming back. You got good pieces all around this team. You think maybe you can be a threat in the Mountain West Conference and do something fun. But to have that happen the first week, it kind of rips away all optimism immediately.
Yeah.
And it forces you to reset. And I just think it does more damage than it. Now, I'm not part of the athletic department where they're using the money for stuff that they need or whatever.
Oh, thanks for verifying that.
But I'm just saying, like, I know that there's other motives for playing a game like that you stand to gain from. But from purely football stuff, like, that sucks. That sucks hard.
Well, the two motives are simple. Number one, get that check. and number two, get some national appearance
Right.
likeness. Now, the check is still going to cash. The national appearance is bad because
Correct.
you look bad. You want to look good
Uh-huh.
or at least look respectful. You did not do that. There was no respectful look whatsoever. So just got to rebound and do what you can after that. That was abysmal. It was just abysmal. You know what? Texas is a wagon, bro.
God, they're good, man.
You know, a lot of people thought they ended up in the semifinals last year, obviously.
Yeah.
One game away from the national title game. And a lot of people suspected, is Texas really for real? They are. They're deep. And Arch Manning, he's going to be good.
Think about that for a second. It's like Texas right now currently has a first-round quarterback on their roster, right? Quinn Ewers should be a first-round pick. And the alternative to Quinn Ewers, Vic, is somebody who might be better than him once he takes over at quarterback. Like, that's their alternative to that guy. As teams are going around scouring a transfer portal for some quick fix at quarterback, they have those two that have been together now for 2 years.
We've seen a couple examples of this over the weekend where patience pays off. All right, so Arch Manning is showing patience. He's not transferring to another school. He is sitting for 2 years, essentially, right? Sitting.
Yep.
Miller Moss sat at USC.
He looked great.
He sat, correct?
Yeah.
Who's the LSU quarterback? He sat behind Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. What is his
Nussmeier.
name again?
Nussmeier.
Yeah, Nussmeier.
Sat. So we have examples of dudes showing patience, showing some resilience, not jumping into the portal at first turn because they can't compete for a spot. And that's cool that they're being rewarded because, you know, I'm the one who told you college football just isn't right. It's not the same. I don't like it. And yet here I was over the weekend
Then it
loving
started.
it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, that whole thing with Arch Manning and with Miller Moss and those guys, like, I always want to say Miller Moth, by
So
the way.
do I.
It's like it's if I was speaking in Spain.
Something going on
Miller
with his-
Moth?
Something going on with his face, too.
It's just USC face is
Yeah.
what I call it.
SC face, yeah.
Um,
Like Keaton Slovis, was that his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Vic. I think it has to go hand in hand. We can bark at these kids for not having the patience to not jump in the transfer portal, but it's also the coaching staff has to have faith that when the guy leaves that's ahead of them,
Sure.
that they're going to get their shot.
Yeah.
It's got to be a two-way street. So good on Lincoln Riley. And look, I should have known better. This is a big year for Lincoln Riley. I think if things go poorly, especially jumping in the Big 12, like I think there could be a trouble afoot if they have trouble this year, which that's a great first game from them. But I'm an idiot to doubt the idea that a guy who's produced a first overall draft pick at quarterback like 4 different times now didn't have somebody else waiting in the wings that was good.
Bro, I'm watching some of those games over the weekend, and the difference between good football and bad football is and it's never been more pronounced than it is right now. Who's your quarterback? Can he complete a pass?
Yeah.
Can he make an accurate pass? I watched a couple games where I'm like, Jesus. And it makes you take for granted how accurate, like, Shedeur Sanders is. How about Cam Ward from Miami just tearing it up?
I think for the first time in a long time, Vic, Miami has an actual quarterback that's not just hype. Like, that kid is incredible to watch.
I watched as you well know, the Notre Dame Texas A&M game.
Also a great game.
But the quarterbacks weren't that good.
No. I was going to say, what'd you think about Leonard?
That's my reaction.
Yeah.
And that A&M
Because
quarterback,
where's he from again? Where did he
Duke.
transfer from?
Duke.
Yeah, that's right.
the A&M quarterback, awful.
Yeah.
And I mean awful.
Yep.
Notre Dame won that game partially because the A&M quarterback cannot throw it from me to you.
Right.
Terrible.
There were some quarterbacks that looked good, and we can get into this throughout the course of the week because I know this is Husker Hate Week for a lot of people. I watched the game with my wife.
Bro.
I'm not going to be one of these guys that does this because I'm not. Well, I am, but I'm not making the comparison. Just mannerisms. It looks really Mahomesy.
Well,
like
even-
the way that he throws is all I'm saying.
Even
Like
Mahomes
different
reacted.
arm angles.
Mahomes reacted over the weekend.
And he
to
wears
Dylan
15,
Raiola.
and he's
Yeah.
got the little tuft of hair on the back of his helmet. Like,
Yeah.
it looks a lot like him. It's weird.
Needless to say, this is not. CU fans will know this is not the same Nebraska team that came to Boulder last year. That Nebraska team whose quarterback was awful.
Yeah.
This Nebraska team is going to be a force. And you know what? It reflects in the odds. CU +7.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big number. I'm surprised by that. I thought it would be like 3 or 4. +7 going to Lincoln.
A big thing that they're going to have to deal with. You asked me last week, what do I know about Nebraska? And I said, not a whole lot. The only time I followed them is when I watched with my wife, and I'm casually watching that. But I watched intently because I wanted to see what this kid looked like. He's the number 1 recruit in the country.
Throws the long ball really nice.
It was a good ball. But I said the only thing I know about them is they return a lot of that defensive line. Their defensive line was really good last year. They were really good again. Take opponent into account, it was UTEP or something like that.
Yeah.
But that defensive line, if CU's offensive line isn't ready to play, they're going to get beat up in a hurry.
This will be a true test. It's going to be a much tougher game than last year's 36-14 game in Boulder. And that was a close game at the half. But we all saw what we saw last year, and Nebraska's quarterback was awful.
Mm-hmm.
They've got one now.
Yeah.
They've got one.
It's going to look different. So we can get into that and a lot more. Not to mention, Vic, did you know this is the last week that we have before the Broncos play an actual NFL football game with first stringers on the field? Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
That's going to happen. So a lot to break down here. You can always watch the show live on Twitch, twitch.tv, search Altitude SR in the search bar, and that is the Altitude TV simulcast. Shop Safeway's Game Time 4X Points event. Earn up to 4 times the points to redeem on gas and groceries when you purchase participating items throughout the store. Clip the offer in the Safeway app. Moshe Lombardi and Kane next.
Where is he?
I forget. Mosier's out today. But
we just assumed he was late.
Vic. Football's back? I mean, and
God, you know what it does? It gives you, like, even last night, crappy game, crappy opponent, nothing about, like, I wouldn't get excited about FSU, Boston College. But it gave you something to do.
yes. And college football, it's like we got 1 week where we can take advantage of Sundays and Mondays with no NFL for like the next 4 months. We're going to do it right now.
And that little quarterback from BC just getting out of trouble, making plays. What's his name? Castellanos?
Nick Castellanos? What the hell was his name?
I mean, games, dude. We're watching
Castellanos.
games. We're watching games. Do you understand these are games?
Here's the thing, Vic. You said this, and thank you for joining the appetizer because you couldn't sleep today, so you just came to the studio. You said this, I felt the same way. The college football, it's lost some of the appeal that I think made it special, which is you got to see teams grow with rosters and stuff like that, and it's lost some of that with the transfer portal and these.
It's lost familiarity. Like, you would know what your roster look like, who they are. You know what pieces are in place. Now you watch the season, you're like, who's this? Oh, okay, let's go.
Well, and then I have this feeling where it's like, you know what? It's not going to have the same oomph. And then that week happened. And Vic, it had the exact same. Like, I was all in. The entire weekend, I was all in.
Florida State is 0-2 before week 2.
Florida State is not just 0-2,
It's
Vic.
not even week 2 yet, and they're 0-2. Do the math on that.
They aren't just 0-2. They're 0-2 in conference play. The team that went unbeaten last year, remember them?
Yes.
That was
all the
suing the
hubbub and
NCAA
controversy.
because they didn't get in the college football playoff because
Yes.
they were 13-0. They've started the season 0-2 in conference play, and it's September 3rd. That's it.
It's not week 2 yet, and they're 0-2.
I'll tell you what, though, man. Let's start with CSU because the one main question on my mind, went into that game and I said, all I want from CSU is have it be in the second half, like keep it within 3 scores, and just make it feel like Texas has to sweat one out. And now the main question I have is $1.8 million worth of butt kicking like that? Because I don't think it is. And again, I'm not in the athletic department, and I don't know where that money goes and how much they need it for things and blah, 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 but I'm just saying perspective-wise, I was really excited about CSU season, and now it's like a total reset, and I don't know what to do with it now.
Well, I guess use that $1.8 million to make sure you don't get beat down like that again on national television when you visit a team like Texas, because they couldn't block them. That's the one thing I noticed. Offensively, they could not block Texas at the point of attack. Every time they tried to run the ball, that Marshall kid did a good job, by the way. I thought he ran hard.
He did.
Number 28 ran really hard.
One of the rare bright spots in the game.
But they couldn't block the dudes. There were dudes running open on the line of scrimmage all the time.
Yep.
Couldn't put a head on them. And it was a mismatch. It was a complete and utter mismatch. Now, did they lose confidence? Can they put it together because we all want to watch CSU in 2 weeks, see what they got at home.
Right.
And I have a feeling you'll see a different CSU team for that game. But what they put out there on national television, if you're a CSU fan, if you're a Rand fan, I know how you felt. That was embarrassing.
Completely. Like, it's not that you lost. I think everybody would have accepted a loss in that game.
That was embarrassing.
But not like that. That's the issue. And so now you got to do like some soul searching here. And all their goals are still ahead of them, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's just 0-1 in the schedule that you thought, even if you lost by 7, it's still 0-1. You still have all your Mountain West goals that are ahead of you. Nothing took a hit there. It was from a pure perception perspective, it hurts because you came in this season excited about year 3, Jay Norvell. By the way, did you see him on the sideline? They had the guy with the giant banner.
I know, and I'm like, dude, you're down 38.
I know, you don't need to be that secretive.
We like Jay. He's been good to us. But what are you doing when you're down 38 and it's 4th and 1.5 and you're at midfield and you're punting?
Yeah.
You're down 38. It's 38-0. You're at midfield. What do you have to lose?
See what your
Why
team's
are
got.
you punting the ball on 4th and 1? I just sat there. I looked at the television and I said, what is that?
Yeah. I didn't get it either. It's like, at least see if this situation arises later in the year, if you can get the 4th and 1 when you need to. Like, do you got a play that works? Like, I don't know. Like,
that basically tells your team, we can't win this game. Let's just not get embarrassed. And what they do, they got embarrassed. So you got to, man, I don't know, dude. In a situation like that, you might be completely overmatched, but you can't show your cards.
So I'll make a comparison on that because I'm with you 100%. But there's something happened. You said you watched the game last night, Florida State and Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch to the very end?
No, not really. I once it got to 28-13, I turned it off, and it finished 28-13, correct?
Yes. Now, here's the deal about that. Boston College was about at the 10 or 15, I can't remember exactly where, of Florida State, like 10 to 15 yards from the end zone. And they decided we're just going to take knees instead of score again.
Wow.
And Louis Riddick was on the call.
In Tallahassee.
And he said something that I have always agreed with, always. He said, it's almost more embarrassing that they're doing that to you.
It is.
As opposed to trying to score.
They're in your stadium. They are a conference rival. It's not a major blowout. They're just up by 2 touchdowns. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're taking knees. First of all, I would not have taken knees. Bill O'Brien, go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I forgot that Bill O'Brien was back coaching again.
Done a good job up there.
Yep.
Made them legit. What a complete letdown for Florida State. Once an undefeated championship contender, now 0-2 and done. Some of the other college football games that drew my interest, I want to get across the board here. I really like Miami. As much as I detest Miami in terms of historically the rivalry, it's good to see Miami have some sort of a pulse, a heartbeat again.
Cam
they got
Ward
a quarterback.
Is fun. He's fun, man.
They ripped Florida. Now, Florida's not that good, so we'll see where that goes. Alabama has a 17-year-old receiver who skipped his senior season of high school and says, I'm ready to play college football.
And boy, was he.
And just tears it up. I mean, what is going on there?
Bama things, it looks like. Bama's still going to be good. The question is, can they sustain the success once they get past the Saban dudes? Because DeBoer's a good coach. He's going to have them, near the top of the top 25 again this year. But is it sustainable long term? But yeah, that kid walks in, 2 catches, 2 bombs, 2 touchdowns.
And the slippery nature, he caught both and had to evade a couple tacklers. 6 foot, 175 pounds, decides, I don't need my senior year of high school. Let's go.
Crazy.
Can you imagine that?
Here's the other thing. I thought the game of the weekend was the USC and LSU game. And
I agree.
You were pointing this out when it comes to teams like USC.
Can I start by saying this? I'm so happy that Brian Kelly is no longer my team's head coach.
Yeah.
As much as he won for my team, his sideline demeanor, his, oh my God, I'm about to get a tooth pulled type of demeanor, his pound the table demeanor all the time, angry all the time. Now I see it from the other side, and I'm like, how could you like that?
He was in midseason form after that game. So this is just a little snippet of what happened in the postgame with Brian Kelly. Oh, and I don't get my hotkey output. Go ahead, Nelly.
And we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous.
I love a good pound the table moment.
Again! He also said in that post-game presser about Miller Moss, the USC quarterback, he outplayed our quarterback. So he's doing all that after 1 week of this season.
I don't know. I thought the LSU quarterback was pretty good.
I did too. But
By the way, some of the catches these receivers made in week 1, the college game,
Yeah.
just ridiculous catches.
Oh, that catch. Who was the dude
That,
from USC?
that SC receiver, whoa.
What the hell was his name?
I don't know, but whoa. One hand, corral it before you fall.
Well, there was also in a I guess, quote, uninteresting game without some top 25 teams, and they were both non-power fives. There was a pick from somebody, can't remember who it was, where he had the same thing, was one-handed, he was rolling midair.
Hey, watch out for SC, dude. SC's got a defense.
That's what's weird to me, is like, you face two questions. The reason that USC wasn't good last year was obviously not quarterback play. They had the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. They couldn't stop anybody. In first week of the season, they hold LSU to 13 points, or no, 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
Is Caleb Williams like, well, what the hell is this?
You know,
what happened?
You've always been a proponent of, you're a socialist when it comes to this. You want every team to be good. You want every team on the outside looking in to make the playoff. You want all those teams to be okay.
Yeah,
great. You want that. You want the lesser teams to be able to get into the playoff, which
Just
is
to get
fine.
a shot.
Yeah. But college football is at its best when the blue bloods are at their best.
Oh, I don't disagree.
And you know that as well as I do.
Sure.
When SC's making noise, when Texas is making noise, when Miami's got a quarterback, when Notre Dame wins on prime time, when those teams make noise, college football's at its best. Will you acknowledge that?
Of course. My beef has always been, though, if a team like Florida State last year does literally everything in their power that they can do, which is win every single game, they need to have a shot at the title. And what I love about this year is they're going to get that now. All these teams that we consider good enough are at least going to get their shot. But watching USC play that way, like they were facing two questions. It was, can you replace the number 1 quarterback in the country last year?
Oh, they did.
And they did that because Miller Moss looks great. And secondly, can the defense be any better? Because you're in the Big Ten now.
Oh,
You can't win games 51-48 anymore. And they look great.
They look really good.
Yes. Here's the other thing, too. And I take great joy in this one. Because, Vic, there's a couple of coaches that I just don't have the stomach for. In the NFL, it's one guy that I cannot stand, and that's Nick Sirianni, because he does a lot of barking, and a coach that does that is just bothersome to me. Nothing brought me more joy over the weekend.
Thinking equals talent take over.
Even with them getting a win, than watching Oregon struggle their asses off with Idaho. And I looked at the numbers. Did you see Dylan Gabriel's game? So he's the new transfer quarterback.
I've always thought he was overrated, dude. There's nothing about Dylan Gabriel that makes you go, oh, my God.
Well, he was 41 of 49 for 380 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they had to eke out a victory over Idaho. What is that?
I just don't think he's that great.
He's fine. Yeah, he's okay. But for them to have basically a nail-biter with Idaho week 1, oh, that brought me joy. Because all I can think about is last year, the Dan Lanning, what is it? We play for wins, not for clicks, or whatever he said heading into the CU week. Loved that.
And by the way, if you're a CU fan, you might be encouraged after watching the Big 12 play football over the weekend. Maybe the Big 12 isn't as good as we thought it was.
Well, they're. Can I steal a line from the Broncos roster and what we said about them? There's a lot of solid and not a lot of great in that conference, I think. You know what I mean? There's teams that are good teams.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody is like, whoa, this looks like an unbeatable force.
Bro, Texas Tech, and I know CU plays on the road at Texas Tech, correct?
Yes, I believe they
Texas Tech gave up 50 points to Abilene Christian.
Needed overtime to win, yeah.
I repeat, 50 points to Abilene Christian. If Abilene Christian is putting 50 on you, what the hell is Shedeur Sanders going to do to you?
Right. Well, I don't know how much more you can score than 50 points. It's going to be tough to get more than that.
I just don't think, I'm looking at the Big 12. Arizona had to come back to win. They looked good in the second half of their game. They looked great in the first half.
Yep.
I don't know how good that conference really is.
I don't think they're great, but they're okay. And here's the other thing. We can get into this in more detail. A lot to discuss today. I had the weekly tradition of watching my wife watch the Husker game And Nebraska's quarterback is a legit threat that you're going to face this weekend. Kid looks good. Like, he was hyped up, number one quarterback recruit in the country, starting as a true freshman. He lived up to the billing. Kid can
Dylan
throw.
Raiola.
Yep. So we'll break that down a little bit later in the show as well. I got some audio from Mike McGlinchey that I want to get to because he said something about the quarterback position right now for the Broncos where it's not even a veiled shot. It seems like a total shot at Russell Wilson. And the Broncos play a game in less than a week, Vic. We're here. We've arrived. Get to all that in a couple minutes. Oh, that sound is back, and that's the sound of your favorite lottery app taking you where you want to be. Participating in games like Mega Millions, Powerball, or Looking for Life. It's Tulatero. You can download the app right now and register with the code MAGIC. Again, that's the code MAGIC, and you receive 1 free credit to play your first lottery game, and it's Mega Millions today. The estimated jackpot is $681 million. Download the app right now and take that free play and put it to good use. Download the Tulatero app, Tulotero, and register with the code MAGIC and try your luck now. Tulatero, your lottery app. Look at that. Good morning football. Prediction week 2024. Peter's AFC playoff teams. What's he holding up there, Vic? Look over your left shoulder. Hang on. They just cut to a wide shot. Wait till they get up tight again. What's he holding up?
Broncos.
For an AFC playoff team, I am not going to go that far. As much as I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've seen in the offseason, and I fully take into account that maybe there's some training camp brain that is set in. By the way, we'll talk to Adam Schefter at 8 o'clock this morning because we didn't get a chance to talk to him yesterday. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but God, am I intrigued to see how this season's going to go.
Talk to me at halftime around, 3:35 p.m. Sunday afternoon, and I'll have a better sense of what the Broncos and Bo Nix are, because we haven't seen defenses game plan for them. We haven't seen defenses really hit them. We haven't seen real football. We haven't seen him go up against starters yet. You realize that, right?
Right.
So he's going to Seattle to take on the 12s in a very raucous environment, the loudest outdoor stadium in the NFL, in the opener, against a new coach who's supposed to be a defensive wizard, by the way, Mike McDonald, who dialed up blitz packages last year in Baltimore that were supposed to be creative as can be. It earned him this job in Seattle. He's going to try to confuse the rookie. He's going to try to send everything at him early. I'll know by halftime what Bo Nix and the Broncos are.
This is the thing, too, with Nix getting the start at that place. I don't think Seattle's a very good team. Like, they're okay. They're maybe borderline a playoff team in the NFC. You got a decent offense and a so-so defense, at least from what we know so far. But you open the year in Seattle is a different thing because all of that stuff, maybe a few losses later, the crowd's not as raucous. This is opening day. They are at peak optimism, and they're going to be screaming their heads off.
So from what I've read about Michael McDonald, and I keep calling him that, it's Mike.
Yeah.
He has revolutionized this new blitz system in the NFL. Taking it to the street. In fact, when we talk about Seattle, I want Michael McDonald, Nolly.
Yeah, can we have some of that? Mix it up for me. Get some Doobie Brothers Michael McDonald, some solo Michael McDonald.
He has revolutionized. He's got this blitz package where the defense will send somebody from somewhere almost all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's blitzing 5 or 6. He's only sending 4, but he's masking it. He's running games on one side or the other, and it's really hard for opposing quarterbacks. It's extraordinarily hard for a rookie quarterback.
Sure.
What a way to open up. If you're Bo Nix, Michael McDonald, just dial it up.
I wish he actually called plays to his defense like that. Whoever's wearing the communication system like a linebacker, he's like, "We're gonna blitz the nickel backer and play to the safety.
Give it a look from the corner.
We'll play a cover 2. Then we're gonna bring the edge. Get ourselves a sack, cause you know it's a I wish he would do it. This is such a great idea. We don't wanna give up deep passes. And we want to stop the run, yeah. I love it.
I mean, if you're going to go Mike McDonald, why don't you go full Michael McDonald? What are you waiting for? Just lean into it, dude. Embrace it. You are Michael McDonald. Grow a beard. Grow a white beard.
Have to. I told you I went to an Earth, Wind, and Fire concert about 10 years ago. He was the opener for him, and it was, to this day, whenever I hear Michael McDonald, I do that voice and fake play a piano, and it drives my wife insane because she doesn't like his voice. It's weird. Totally get it.
Oh, I love that voice.
I do, too. I think it's soothing. You remember that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin? Hey, I got something to tell you. I'm really excited about it. If you don't take this Michael McDonald DVD out that you've been running 5 years straight, I'm going to burn this store to the ground. Anyway, the thing is, it's going to be such a tough test for a rookie quarterback in game 1 for him to walk in and have success there.
Which is why Sean Payton's going to run the ball a lot.
I think so, too. Like that shouldn't be just exclusive to week 1, by the way. That should be a year-long thing. Run the football and play good defense. That's going to be the best elixir and the best medicine that a rookie quarterback can have.
Although I wonder if Coach Payton is going to try to outthink all the thinkers out there. And now with the new kickoff rules, still try an onside kick to start the season, despite the new rule. I'll show you. You want to change a kickoff rule?
It's not going to be a surprise. He's going to announce it before the game because you have to now. He's going to say, we're kicking an onside to open this game up. By the way, did you hear Mike McGlinchey a few days ago talking about Bo Nix? And, Vic, I would say that this is a veiled shot, but it's not. It's very thinly veiled. What do you think about this?
I think he's been great. I mean, Bo's a great dude, and he's a great guy to hang out with, great guy to have a conversation with. I think he's fit in unbelievably well, and I think he has come in and be authentically himself, and I think that's all you can ask for him. And for us, he doesn't have to be somebody that he's not just because he's the superstar quarterback of an NFL franchise. He's a homegrown dude that really likes playing football, really likes being a teammate, and that's definitely shown through the rest of us in the way that we appreciate his work so far.
Thoughts?
Nice things.
So he's an authentic dude that doesn't need to pretend to be somebody that he's not because he's the superstar quarterback of an NFL team. I wonder who the comparison he's making that to. Who's the guy?
There have been some...
I got it. I think I know who it is.
Who?
Brett Rippon, for sure.
There have been some nice things written about him. Nick Kosmatter's got a great piece talking about the history of Bo Nix. And, he played high school football when he was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
He's been a starter his entire life. He gets to Auburn as a freshman, he's a starter. Goes to Oregon, he's a starter. He's always been the starter. Gets to the NFL, he's the starter. So this is nothing new to adopt this position and say it's mine, even in his first year in the league. That's nothing new.
Right.
But when you hear other people talk about great quarterbacks, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, my God, I saw him do something I've never seen before. You don't hear those words with Bo Nix. He's just steady.
Right.
And maybe steady's what they need. Maybe steady Eddie is exactly what they need rather than, oh, dude, he made this play today. I haven't seen anything like it.
Right.
Those are the kind of words that describe Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Caleb Williams.
Drew Lock, if you're Von Miller, who said it was the greatest incompletion I've ever seen. No, you're right. I think that they obviously have hope, Vic, and I'm trying to find the article here because it's real. They have hope that he has a high ceiling where he's going to be in the same sort of category and vein as some other guys. And I can't find the quote right now from the article that was written about it, and I'll find it in a minute and give proper credit. But it was that Bo Nix was the number 2 quarterback on the Broncos board heading in the draft. That's the rumor. Now, is it easy to say that in hindsight? Can you say that, you can't say number 1 because you don't want to sound too obvious? Well, all that stuff. Maybe. But they obviously liked him from the very jump. So this isn't a guy that they're hoping comes in here and is just like game manager, throw the ball 20 times, don't make a mistake. They have high expectations for him. Big time. And it might take, a while for that to incubate and really show itself. But I don't think that they have some sort of tempered expectation for him. I don't think so at all.
How many pass attempts do you think Bo Nix gets in week 1? What's the ideal? Like if Sean Payton's drawing up his game plan right now, how many times does he throw the ball?
27.
I was thinking about the same thing. Just under 30.
And a lot of those maybe some dump offs,
yeah,
some passes like that just to get a rhythm going.
Low risk.
Yep.
Low risk. Although part of me is not surprised. What if he opens up the game with a deep toss just to get him going?
A little play action bomb.
Just to get him going.
By the way, the article I was referencing, this was from NOLA.com. It's Jeff Duncan, who's boys from back in New Orleans.
I couldn't access. That had a one of those you can't read unless you subscribe mode.
Life finds a way.
Had one of those, you're illiterate, don't try. But that's where I got this from, that he was the second quarterback on the board. Again,
the story we know about Bo Nix. We're going to watch Bo Nix Sunday. It's the opener, obviously. The story And Sean Payton was asked this yesterday. So who's your backup? And he gave the age-old Sean Payton, ever popular, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that one. It really is just a good dismissal where it's not. It doesn't sound rude.
It's the best.
It's just like, yeah, what are you doing for lunch today? I'll keep you posted.
Keep you posted. We're going to share this information eventually. The information will be shared, but at our time. But we'll just keep you posted on that.
No.
Couple other things here. And Adam Schefter is going to join us at 8 o'clock so we can get into this with more detail. Because there's a lot of NFL news that happened over the weekend. You know, one thing that I think is just purely hilarious, Vic.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the rookie quarterbacks that will not be starting in week 1 is Drake May. And there's a couple reasons for it. You can think maybe he wasn't just ready to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots yet. Maybe he needs a few more weeks to get the offense or whatever. But my favorite part was an article that was written in New England. And it said this: playing May now behind what might be the NFL's worst offensive line would be akin to sending a 16-year-old with a learner's permit onto the Autobahn with worn brakes and a flat tire. May would be destined to crash, then regress, and by extension, set the franchise back. Here's what I think's hilarious about that. What do you think if you're Jacoby Brissett?
I know. There's a large bear trap. Hey, Jacoby, go get the food.
It's like, oh, we can't send him behind that O-line. He'll get killed. Jacoby, take some snaps, please. It's like, what the hell is that? I mean, it's got to suck to hear.
We don't want to see our rookie quarterback get sacked 70 times. Hey, Jacoby, you good?
Yeah, it's like, go out there until you physically can't move, and then we'll make the switch.
I mean, the last thing we want to see is a young, impressionable man beaten to a bloody pulp because he doesn't have the protection. Hey, Jacoby, warm it up. Let's go.
So here's the last paragraph of this article. It's an unfortunate, harsh, and perfectly NFL reality that the 31-year-old is both being paid to play quarterback and take punishment in May's place.
Pretty much.
That's why May can't outplay him, as Mayo admitted earlier this week, and still sit. That's why Brissett's one-year, $10 million contract consists mostly of guaranteed money. That's what the cash is for, to get beat up.
I mean, if you're Jared Mayo, the proper thing to say at the beginning of the season is we are protecting Drake May from our own personnel ineptitude.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like
that's what
all
we're
the
doing.
Mistakes that we have made, we are not going to force them on the rookie quarterback. Yeah. It's going to be on you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Where's the meat?
What? Seriously, he's just a meat shield.
Pulp Fiction.
Let's, I want to get to one other piece of audio. Vic had to ruin my weekend because I shot the best round of my life. I shot a 74, and I sent him a screenshot of it. 5 birdies in a round. Didn't think I was ever capable of doing that.
Very good.
And Vic sends me one back where he shot a 72, like an hour later. And I was like, hey,
impressive.
jerk, just let me have my moment, please. I just want the moment.
I gave it to you for an hour.
It was a moment. It was a moment.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Automatic laugh. Scotty Scheffler had one of my moments, though. He was in a bunker over the weekend and just a straight shank. Ball goes straight to his right, rolls off the green, down the hill. He ends up, 50 yards further from where he started.
We've all done it. You've done it, right? We've all done it.
Of course. And he's asked, how'd that happen by a reporter? Here's what he said.
What happened on that shot out of the bunker?
I shanked it.
Why did you shake it?
So there's the club, like there's the straight part of the face, and then over here is the hosel. And on that one specifically, I caught too much of that part of the face. And that's why I went to the right. So it's shaped kind of, a little curve. And then, so like if I hit the straight part, it's going to go that way.
No, I
straight.
get that.
And then if I hit this part, it's going to come, towards you.
I know the season. Thank you.
Do you think
he had a smile on his face the whole time as he was doing that? By the way,
whoever the reporter is, do you really think? I mean, shank is a verboten word in golf. You don't even want to say the word.
Right.
It's like saying no hitter during a no hitter in baseball. You don't want to say the word. You really think a golfer wants to go into detail about the psychology of a shank? They want to forget it as fast as they can. The other golfers don't even bring it up. And now you want me to give you a full documentary on why I shanked?
Well, 2 things on that. Number one, I don't know how Mosher doesn't like Scotty Scheffler. I think the guy's funny. I like him. Secondly,
Who told you that?
didn't that sound a lot like if I take you back to March Madness in 2016 and Torian Prince was playing for Baylor and they get upset by Yale in the opening round of the NCAA tournament? And they had high expectation. Baylor was like, I don't know, a 3 seed, something like that. They were really good. Torian Prince, one of their best players. And they got out-rebounded by Yale. And a reporter from Texas is just like, he can't understand it. And he asked this question.
How does Baylor get out-rebounded by Yale? How's that happen?
Are you directing that towards anyone?
Gentleman who just talked about getting out-rebounded. He had the stat sheet.
Torian?
You said, how do they
Yeah,
have they have more rebounds
You
than
said
us?
he got out-rebounded. I was surprised. You did. 36-32. How does Yale out-rebound Baylor?
Stop. Before he answers. Doesn't that media person, just the voice and the approach, doesn't he come off as an arrogant, just East Coast, arrogant SOB?
So,
right? Just listening to, I don't even know who this person is. I have no idea. But just listening to that arrogance, that East Coast.
When you drop one of these, Vic, one of these tones where you say, yeah, I was surprised you said you got out-rebounded, and you did.
You said he got out-rebounded. I was surprised. You did.
How does Yale out-rebound Baylor? It's awful, yeah. And so this is the perfect response. It sounds a lot like Scotty Scheffler. Listen.
36-32. How does Yale out-rebound Baylor?
You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with 2 hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
That's when you feel like telling that dude something you cannot do and probably never done in your life.
Yeah.
And I hate using that line, but that's when I feel like doing it.
You could. With that tone, yeah, totally you could.
It's so funny you say that. Tone is such a big part of Q&A. Mm-hmm. Tone. You can totally have an easy conversation. You can have the toughest question in the world if your tone is the right tone.
Vic, I'll ask the same question 2 different ways.
Yeah, please do. Ask me. I'm Torian Prince, and
I'm going to ask Vic Lombardi a question.
Okay.
How's your wife?
She's good.
How's your wife?
Oh, whoa.
See? Tone matters.
Yes.
It's like commas. You need to have commas in print, or else it's a different thing.
Wow, bro.
How's your golf game, Vic?
It's not bad. It's getting better. I had a great week.
It's your golf game. How is it?
Hey, I know you swing.
You going golfing again?
303-504-0925. Again, Adam Schefter will join us at 8 o'clock this morning because we missed out on him yesterday, so he'll be around in 20 minutes, broadcasting live from the Backus and Schenker studios. Their passion is justice. Back after this. Vic, I got some Joel Klatt audio I want to get to in just a little bit. We got Adam Schefter coming up and joining us in 15 minutes. Wondering what you thought about this, by the way. So over the weekend, this is one of the things with the transfer portal in college football is that you get to see some of the former players going somewhere else and how they did. So let me give you 2 examples. Coach Mike Sanford mentioned this to us last week in recapping the CU game on Friday. He said one of the concerns that he has about CU is that it looks like they took a step down at running back, that the athleticism just isn't there from what it was last year. And 2 examples are Anthony Hankerson and Dylan Edwards, who both were playing for different teams this past weekend.
Yeah.
Anthony Hankerson for Oregon State had 24 carries for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards had just 5 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown, but also caught the ball about 4 or 5 times and looked explosive for Kansas State.
Yeah. And CU's run game was not to be seen.
Correct. Now, what really caught my eye over the weekend was Dylan Edwards was asked after the game. So Kansas State won. I can't remember who they beat. It was not a great team. UT Martin, 41-6. And Edwards was asked after the game, how is it your first game as a Wildcat? Here's what he said.
James was able to, Oregon to get off the field under his own power, and there goes Dylan Edwards, touchdown.
Looking up at the scoreboard and seeing it was 41-6, just a W. I ain't won a game in a while, and it just felt really good. Last year, I'm not going to tell you what weight, but I can tell you I'm up 15 pounds.
So he said,
tell you what?
Haven't won in a while, so that felt good. And then he said, from last year, I'm up 15 pounds. But he had a couple of different comments about, like, being utilized within the offense when he was at Kansas State as well.
Hey,
that is what was weird last year. He had, remember that first game against TCU? He had a couple of big-time plays, and then he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Again, every time you bring this up, and it's anti-prime or CU, people say you're attacking it. It's not us. It's the kid.
Right.
And I'm not sure if he's saying anything inflammatory there. He's just saying he's being utilized differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't he a 5-star? Wasn't he a Louis?
He was big recruit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 5, but big recruit.
Well, he's doing it somewhere else now, and that's fine. This is a big week for CU. This is a big week. This will show me what they really are, because we know Nebraska's improved. Yeah. The eye test proves that. They got a quarterback now.
And again, they didn't play some great team either. I think it was UTEP. Yeah.
Tore them up. UTEP. Nebraska's improved. Nebraska is a 7-point favorite this weekend. That number surprises me.
Yeah.
If CU goes to Lincoln and wins this game, and I don't care if they win by a point, that's an impressive win. Impressive as hell.
Totally.
Okay? I'm not one of those guys who says you got to go in there and really leave your mark. No, you go win that game however you can.
I know a lot of Nebraska fans, too, obviously being from there. And they actually, Vic, it's been so weird because usually whenever a season starts over there in Lincoln, everybody thinks that they're going to be great. The last few years, they haven't felt that way. They're like, ugh, I don't think this is going to be good. Felt that way last year. This year, they feel different because that quarterback looks every bit the player that they hoped he would be.
When you have a quarterback, it's funny how you turn up the hope meter. It just happens.
Yep.
I mean, CU's got Shedeur. You're never out of a game.
Right.
You got Travis and Shedeur. You're never out of a game.
The 2 similarities I would have for both this quarterback for Nebraska, Raiola, and Shedeur Sanders, for a true freshman especially, playing in his first game, he looked incredibly calm. Incredibly.
Let it be known last year, it was before the game, if you recall, when the Shedeur, what does he call that thing he does with the watch? What does he call it? The Shedeur?
Yeah, the Shedeur, sure.
That's when it was born. Do you remember that?
Yep.
It was born pregame when the Nebraska guys were at midfield on the Buffalo, and he shows up and stood in the middle of the pack and gave them the forearm, the Shedeur, and said, you got to get out of here. And that's where it was born.
Well, it's, as you said, Vic, it's a massive test for them. Because going on the road, going to be a hostile environment. And the one thing that I think Nebraska is going to have a distinct advantage on, maybe the only thing I know for sure right now, is their defensive line has two huge dudes that overpowered now as UTEP. But they did the same thing last year. Nebraska had 7 sacks on Shedeur last year. D-line versus CU O-line is going, I think, to tell the story of the game. If they can protect, if they can establish some bit of a running game, then I think CU can win that game.
Well, what worries me here is that if you thought CU had trouble establishing a run game against North Dakota State, how the hell are they going to run the ball this week?
Yeah. It's going to be incredibly difficult. By the way,
just embrace the pass and just go with it.
Joel Klatt was talking about CU. Now, remember, Joel Klatt, before the season started, thought CU could be an 8-9 win team, I think is what he said. Pretty optimistic about it. And he was less optimistic after watching that first game against NDSU. One of the things that really bothered him was the clock management at the end of the game. He said this.
The clock mismanagement at the end of the game was egregious. I do believe that was Shedeur's call at the end of the game. I haven't talked to anybody within the organization or the program, and I don't know this to be absolutely the fact. All you need to know is that if you just play it out correctly, North Dakota State receives the ball at worst with about 5 seconds left or 4 seconds left in the game. And yet what happened? They threw the ball on first down with 1:41. This cannot happen. Now, if it was a check on the field by the quarterback, then that's going to be evaluated by the next level. That can't happen. There is no way that you as an offense can stop the clock for the defense in that moment. They must burn their timeouts.
So that's one thing that I guess grinded his gears,
Well, we
ground
talked
his
about
gears.
this, right?
Yes.
And Shedeur did take blame for that, saying he wanted to give his young receiver some love. It was single coverage. I didn't like the way he answered it by saying, sort of like, hey, they didn't show us much respect.
Right.
It's not about respect. It's about winning the game.
Right. He goes on to say this about his preseason prediction compared to how he feels now.
The fact that North Dakota State touched the football with a chance to win is an egregious mistake. Egregious mistake. It's unsustainable to play this way if you're Colorado. They have elite talent, and you cannot waste it with these same mistakes that they continue to waste it with. Everything that I'm talking about is factual. None of it is personal. And if it continues, they will lose a fair share amount of their games. Why do I know that? Because in that conference, they will play 8 to 9 one-possession games from here on out. They just played one against North Dakota State. They're going to play 8 or 9 more in that league because everybody's bunched up. Everybody is good. Everybody is tough in that league. So if you don't fix these things that were clear mistakes, they will come back to haunt you. It's the exact same type of mistakes that we saw last year. It bit them in the butt, and that's why they only won 4 games and they didn't go to a bowl game. I said they could win 8 or 9 games, not if they play like this.
He's calling out coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how he said it's not personal?
Right.
But what do you think he just said there?
Obviously, it's game management, right?
He's calling out the coaching.
He just said you have elite talent. But if they're not coached the right way, then you're going to lose football games. One of the texters says one of Nebraska's biggest advantages is coaching. Rule's a really good college coach. I think he is too. Now, I don't know how much of a distinct advantage that's going to be, but you cannot. You know what last week reminded me of, Vic? It was like when you play Madden or something like that. You're playing a video game. It's like, yeah, I got the game won, but if I can get this guy a couple of more catches, that would look cool in the stat sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just win the game. Win the game.
Listen, I'll say what people are thinking because people don't want to say this. Part of the reason why folks are suspicious is this, are you trying to win the game? Are you trying to win or is this just a stage,
like
a prop
showcase
for your kid?
Yeah.
To show the NFL what he can do. Because that was case in point. Nobody cares about throwing the deep ball there. Just take the knee and win the game.
But in the last minute of the game, it's like he was already showcased. Like he had a great game. He
There's
threw
no
for
reason.
400 and some yards. Yeah. You already did all that. It's just take what they're giving you, which is a W.
But it's funny. I mean, even Joel said it's not personal.
Mm-hmm.
You should have stressed that.
Kind of walk on eggshells.
Stress that sucker. It's not personal.
I'm going to be critical. I just want you to know this isn't a personal thing. It's just an observation that I've had. 303-504-0925. Again, a huge test. We can get into this a lot more as we go on throughout the week and throughout the day. Full week of college football under our belts, and we got now the week leading into the NFL season. First game is in 2 days. Thursday Night Football to open things up, and we're going to talk about that with Adam Schefter in just a few minutes. Is there one overarching sort of thought that you have in general in the NFL?
Yeah. Why are they playing a game in Brazil?
Well, now it's posed some different issues. I'm sure you saw that X is banned in Brazil.
Is this really necessary to play? I mean, is the future of the NFL at stake? Is the future of the NFL in jeopardy that you have to move this game to Brazil?
I think this is them trying to do another one of those,
What's next, Iceland?
Let me try and find an untapped market somewhere. But the X thing is weird because reportedly, a lot of people are saying, well, you can get around that with a VPN. Well, if they catch you using a VPN and tweeting in Brazil, I guess it's a $9,000 fine.
I don't know, dude.
And you're just like, okay, well, that changed some things.
So we're not going to have boots on the ground tweeting the game?
What if this was the Broncos playing in Brazil, though, on Friday, right? Friday's the game. What if that was the Broncos, Vic, and Altitude said, Vic, we want you to go out there and give us some reporting on there. And you couldn't use this sucker while you were in Brazil.
I could always go to the always popular Threads. That worked out great.
Wait, is that banned too? Is it all social media or is it just the X? Which one is it?
It's specifically X, I think, because Elon Musk, the whole cornerstone of the platform is he's championing free speech unilaterally. And I think the Brazilian government wants some things not to be said freely.
What does Threads do? Does Threads champion free speech? What do they do?
I think
Who runs that?
They're hoping they get another 4 subscribers before the end of the month, I think.
Yeah, Zuckerberg, you know what he needs to do? He needs to be like Tom in MySpace. Remember Tom was just automatically your friend when you signed up?
Yeah.
Zuck needs to be your boy on Threads when you join.
Wait, did you get a Threads?
I threaded one day when Threads started. I said, let me go to Threads. I haven't been back since. I have no idea what the hell's over there.
You know what? Let's ask Schefter.
Let's go thread it.
Schefter, he's all over social media. He had to have a Threads account
Let's see
at some
if he's
point.
got a thread from Brazil.
We'll talk to Adam Schefter next. All right, awaiting an appearance from Adam Schefter. We got a couple of minutes here before he hops on with us. And here's the deal, Vic. I want to get to college football again and some of the disappointing performances from week one, because there was a handful for you to choose from. But this isn't going to really move the meter nationally, but locally, I can't imagine anything going worse for CSU than that opening week game against Texas. It was about as bad as it could be. 52-0 with really zero hope throughout the course of the game.
What's worse, that or was it a couple years ago? Wasn't it North Dakota State who beat them in Fort Collins?
Yeah.
Would you rather lose at home to an FCS school, or would you rather lose on the road, make nearly $2 million to a team that was in the national title hunt?
I would
take the latter.
I guess you get some money out of it. The last two times they scheduled these games, by the way, a couple years ago they had this against Michigan, right? Where it's virtually the same thing. It was like 51-7.
Oh, it was South Dakota State.
Dakota State.
Yes, South Dakota State beat CSU at home under Adazio. Would you rather do that or get blanked for $1.8 million? I'd rather take the 1.8.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But still, it's like there's a high level of embarrassment that comes with that. There really is. Just because it's like, again, you have so much optimism heading into this season. It's year 3. You feel like you got a good quarterback. You feel like you got a good wide receiver. You got good pieces around. And it was non-existent. So we'll get back to this in a second.
Rocky Balboa is ready to go, apparently, here.
Yes, he is. Ramos Law Hotline, car accident. You need Ramos Law, medical doctor and attorney, RamosLaw.com, joined by Rocky Balboa, a.k.a. Adam Schefter of ESPN. Adam, how are you, buddy? Good to talk to you.
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Did you get a good sweat in this morning? What's your exercise of choice of the morning, Adam?
Not good enough today, Vic. I was planning on doing a cycling class, and during the cycling class, Trent Williams decided to get a deal done, and Christian McCaffrey decided to return to practice, and got other things coming in and other things happening. And so, yes, I had great visions of getting in a nice 45-minute spin class on my Peloton. Didn't exactly happen exactly as I would have liked it.
San Francisco, they just played a giant game this entire offseason, didn't they? Oh, we can't find a contract for IU. Can't find one for Trent Williams. And all of a sudden, everybody's back right before the first week. I have one question about the IU deal, though. Part of this has to be game planning for the future of signing a guy like Brock Purdy to a big extension. Can they afford to keep all this stuff, or is this like we're going to sign him for now and still look for other avenues for trades down the line for Ayuk?
Well, I think they sign him and leave all options open, right? You just have to see. Like, they didn't sign him and preclude them or prevent them from being able to sign Ayuk. That's all part of the plan. They budgeted for these things. Like, they were budgeting all off season for Ayuk, and the number just went up by a few $1 million over the course of the off season. But some of that is padded too on the back end to make the deal look good. But this was a deal that they were preparing and expecting to do all along, and now they've finally done it. That's really the deal.
I read your Trent Williams update, not only on Twitter, but I went to Threads, and I went to Threads for the first time in 6 months and saw that you updated the story. How do you do both Twitter and Threads? Do you just send one thing and it goes to both?
It's a very media savvy question there, Vic, and I appreciate it. Basically, I post on Twitter, I post on Instagram, I post on Threads. You're just taking certain things. Now, every now and then I'll just post something on Threads or something on Twitter or something on Instagram. Like sometimes, and it's hard to describe what there'll be a certain item that I think is more related to a certain spot. But when there's a news story, a big news story, inevitably you try to post to all platforms. Although sometimes it gets a little crazy. I can think of being in Boston a few weeks ago and literally was waiting for confirmation that J.J. McCarthy had torn his ACL, was out for the year. I had everything ready to go. And I get a call, yes, it's true. And I go to post on all 3 platforms. It was queued up, ready to go. And literally it was not posting in the Boston airport. Like, I'm pressing send. And I'm standing there like, damn. Like, first of all, I feel bad for J.J. McCarthy. He's a great guy that he tore his ACL. But then I'm completely aggravated that I'm standing in the middle of Logan Airport. And after about 5-6 minutes of this, I'm getting angry. Like, I'm pissed off here. Like, it won't post. It won't post. And so, I got all of a sudden, then all the reporters start posting. JJ's out for the year. I got my boy. What is this true? Yeah.
Yes.
Hogan.
Stupid
I can't
airport.
get it out. Like, I got no Wi-Fi. What am I going to do?
So what would you do if you're in Brazil this week and you want to post on Twitter about the game in Brazil?
Take a red eye back to the States as soon as I could, Vic, and get it out.
There you go. It's a good strategy.
Two-part question. Why is the NFL playing a regular season game in Brazil? I can understand preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason's fine, but why regular season?
Because the game is so popular here. It is every time I think it's maximized, it's actually not. They continue to grow it, but it's essentially it's hard to imagine that football could be any more popular in our country. And I think when you look at it, the untapped sources of revenue are in the international areas. And so they've identified Brazil clearly as one. And if you'll notice, in the last couple of years, they've divvied up these properties, these territories, almost like a game of Monopoly, where the owners basically take control of a foreign property, and that becomes their area. So the goal now is to build their brand and products internationally, because it's not enough to make all the money they're making here domestically. And so that is the next frontier for this game. I think they've seen the popularity of the NBA in other countries. And so the league is trying to do that. And the best way to do that is to give them a game, even if it's a regular season game. And again, we've heard the talk of 18 games. I believe that they'll get to 18 games and it'll be such that every team has to play one game internationally with part of their territories that they've anointed and doled out like Monopoly properties.
Yeah. I think the Broncos have Mexico, by the way. Mexico is the property for the Broncos, last I checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, I could see that. So, and, I remember being in Mexico City with the Broncos. I made that trip, I think, a couple of times. Certainly one I remember in August of 1998, because I do remember we were at an NFL-sponsored event. They were playing the Miami Dolphins. It was Monday Night Football. And after the event, me, a bunch of players, including Elway, a bunch of coaches, went to this cantina across the street from our hotel. And the owners were so enamored of having John Elway and company in-house that they basically turned over control of the bar. I never forgot. This was amazing. and literally, like, we're taking turns behind the bar, pouring drinks, doing shots, poppers. And, this is, I'm young. And we closed down the bar at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And the players, including Elway, were all staggering back to the hotel across the street. And then the next night he goes and plays. I'm telling you, it was a late night with a lot of fun. And he tears his bicep tendon.
I remember that. I remember that. Too much
So
tequila.
Wait. So that wasn't like a Michael Jordan story, right? Where he hammers like 12 Coors Lights on the golf course and drops 40 that night.
No, he tore a tendon.
Yikes.
And the first drive of the game. Like, I can tell you. Did it have anything to do with the night before? I don't know. But I know he wasn't operating on much sleep, and I know he had a lot of fun the night before. That I can tell you.
A little inside dope there from Adam Schefter.
And that I can tell you because I have 2 sources that told it to me, my left eye and my right eye.
Adam Schefter, ESPN, with us. So a couple questions. I want to get to the Broncos in a minute, but just quickly, because you're a man who knows everything around all of the NFL. Why has Jamar Chase not gotten a deal done with Cincinnati? Are they really considering not playing him before week 1 of this season? Like, holding out that long?
No, listen, this has been an issue all along, and they may solve it today. They very well may. Like, would I be surprised? No, because it's go time, and these deals have to get done. And last week, CD Lamb and Brandon Ayuk got done, and today Trent Williams is going to get done. And the only 2 that are still lingering out there right now are Jamar Chase and Hassan Reddick. And Hassan Reddick is the one player who's not in camp. When we talk about Chase and you compare it to Ayuk and CD Lamb, those guys had 1 year left on their deals for organizations that were openly trying to sign them. Jamar Chase has got 2 years left on his deal for an organization that has come out and said, we don't think this is the time to do it. We think it's something that should wait. And so now you got a couple of external factors. So what I would love to know, and what nobody knows, is how far is Jamar Chase willing to take this? And we don't know because he hasn't spoken to the media since the last season ended, which, by the way, I know that we'd love to hear him, but I think, in all honesty, that's the right thing to do. Like, when you talk sometimes, Brandon Ayuk said so many things that he probably wishes he could take back right now. Talked about Mike Tomlin, Jaden Daniels, Washington, Pittsburgh. I want to be traded. Like, we haven't heard boo from Jamar Chase. We don't know exactly what he's thinking, but we can only surmise. He is scheduled to make $1 million in base salary this year. He's got, I believe, a $3.8 million roster bonus that's been paid. So it's $4.8 million total for the year, including the $1 million in base that he'll still make, at a time when the top receivers are making $30+ million a year. So is he willing to step on the field without a deal and play, or does he take a deal that is a little less in value, which I don't think he will, or does he just sit out? I don't know what he's going to do, but I do know he hasn't practiced all spring. He returned to practice last week, individual drills, but has not taken a football practice all summer. And I also know they play the Patriots Sunday, which, again, I'm sure they want him out there. They could get by in that game, I think, probably, without Jamar Chase. But week 2, they play the Chiefs. And if you are locked in a battle with the Chiefs for home field advantage, or that game could involve playoff seeding, which it certainly could, I would like to think that you'd want one of the best young players in the game on the field. So to me, like, Jamar Chase's leverage is coming up here real quick. And by the way, he wants to get paid. He doesn't want to miss games. Is he willing to miss games? I don't know how this is going to work. But Zach Taylor said there's a plan, and he said they're taking it day by day. And I think that's really all we can do right now is take it day by day.
Last one for me, Adam. All weekend, everywhere I went, I had a friend or family member involved in a fantasy draft of some sort, multiple drafts. Do you do fantasy football? And if so, how many people come up to you and ask for fantasy advice?
Well, oh man, I could go on and on here, Vic. And you just started me on something. Okay. First of all, there are not many people, if any, that care about fantasy football more than me. Okay. I love it. I am in 2 leagues, one with a 16-team league at ESPN, Rex Ryan, Teddy Bruschi, the Hasselbeck brothers. Like, it's very serious. And that draft is Wednesday night. I'm in another league with some guys in my town, 12-team league. That draft also is Wednesday night. One's at 5:30, one's at 8. Here's my deal. If you need to call me Wednesday night, don't bother. It's the one night of the year I'm not returning calls. I'm not returning messages, because there is nothing that matters more that night than getting my teams right. Now, again, you say, okay, well, you're an insider. I have found over the years that the more you know, the less you know.
Yep.
And let me give you an example. Last year, I am in the championship game in my ESPN 16-team league. I've got a slew of running backs. I got a slew of receivers. My star receiver, Jalen Waddle, was out. I don't know if he had a knee or a shoulder or something. He had an injury. So I needed to pick up a receiver. And in a 16-team league, the pickings are slim. So I was going to pick up one of the Broncos, Brandon Johnson or Little Jordan Humphrey. I called out there. I spoke to a lot of people. Jeez. I said, who do I play, Brandon Johnson or Little Jordan Humphrey? And they're like, Brandon Johnson. Okay. What happens that day when Jared Stidham starts? Little Jordan Humphrey scores a touchdown. Brandon Johnson stopped at the 1-yard line. I have a situation at running back where I have Kenneth Walker on my team. He's questionable with a groin injury. I call out. I speak to Pete Carroll. I speak to John Schneider. I speak to the coaching staff. What do we do? And they're like, look, Kenneth Walker may go out and score a touchdown on his first carry, but we're worried about that groin and how it's going to hold up. I'm like, okay. So I take him out of my lineup for Tajay Spears. And they were right. Kenneth Walker did score a touchdown on his first carry. He also scored another touchdown on his 7th carry. He scored 2 touchdowns that day, and he was not in my lineup, and I lost the championship by 4 points. So if I had gone with Little Jordan Humphrey or Kenneth Walker, one or the other, I would be the defending War Room League champion. But because I only listen to the coaches and front offices of both teams, because I did what I was supposed to do, I was denied my rightful championship.
You get
and as
that.
I say, and I'll remind you, the more you know, the less you know.
Total abuse of power, Adam. That's what you get.
That is
Abusing
amazing.
your power right there.
That is amazing, though. It's like, I wonder who I should play. Let me call Pete Carroll and figure this one out. Adam, one last thing for you, and I always appreciate your time. You talked about what the Broncos could be when we talked to you either last week or 2 weeks ago. What's the floor that you see for them? Like, what's the worst case scenario for the Broncos is what? What does that look like to you this year?
It looks like last year. That's the worst case scenario. But I don't see that. I just don't see it. I am high on this team. Now, let me say, high on this team. Like, I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl this year. That's not practical. Although you never know what happens in a given year. But my point when I say I'm high on this team is I think that you're going to watch this team this year, and you're going to be like, that looks like a different team. They look like they're competitive. They're winning more games than I thought they would. So what is their over-under this year? 5.5?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this team wins 8 games, something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and if it goes real well, maybe it's 9 or 10. And if it doesn't, maybe it's 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, I think they're going to be better than people thought.
Yeah,
Adam.
see, and Adam called Sean Payton to get that information.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Right.
Adam.
And that means it's going to be wrong. That means they're going to win 2 games.
I was going to say, Adam, you're going to be my middleman this year because if you could you put a call into McDaniel and Dan Campbell? I got to figure out Jamison Williams or Raheem Mostert, my flex. So if you can get on that for me, I'd be really appreciative.
Yeah, you don't want to know what I know.
Adam Schefter, ESPN.com, joins us every single week. Always appreciate it, Adam. Thank you, buddy.
Guys, have a great day.
See you, Shefty.
Adam Schefter, ESPN.
It's amazing how, again, fantasy football, I don't play, frankly, because I'm too lazy. But even those that are involved in the NFL at that level, like, they're still heavily fantasy players. My brother is in like 5 leagues. My son, who doesn't even watch many NFL games, is in like 3 leagues. All weekend long, all I got was, what should I do here? What should I do there? I have no idea.
But I treat it like I do, the NCAA tournament. I got one team, Vic, that I have every year. One. That's the only one I pay attention to. It's the only one I can feel good about.
That way you don't have players everywhere?
And I can't do the cheat of like, I won my fantasy league, and it's like 1 out of 6 of them. I don't want to do that either. I just can't imagine the world, Vic, where I'm stewing over, do I play Kyron Williams or do I play Kenneth Walker? And I'm like, let me just call up Sean McVay and ask his advice on this one. Like, that's a cheat is what it is. It's cheating. Even though he said it, the more you know, the less you know. But Adam Schefter, every single week, joins this program, usually on Mondays, but we were off yesterday, so joined us today. If you missed any of that, it'll be on the podcast shortly. iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, Moshe Lombardi, and Kane. Back after this.
Vic Lombardi here for Dan Kaplis, believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan won the largest jury verdict in a Colorado truck crash case. In Dan's last 16 trials, he's won an average of over 10 times more than what the insurance company offered. And that's the key. That's why you want an attorney on your side if you're involved in an accident of some sort, because the insurance company will make you an offer, and then Dan will come in and make sure to get more than the offer. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis. Dan Kaplis Law with offices up and down the Front Range, including the amazing flagship office right down the road at the Denver Tech Center. If you need Dan's help, give him a call today, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit him up, DanKaplisLaw.com. That's Kaplis, Kaplis Law.com. Did you watch Game Day by chance? Because I love that first Game Day. I love Game Day. Did you see that scene where McAfee's like dancing to the music, going crazy, and Saban's right next to him, just still looking at him, going, "What the hell is going on right now?"
I know that some people anyway, are driven nuts by McAfee. I like him. I think he brings a nice little energy to that show. What's really funny is they're making their picks, and Corso just like walks off the stage, and McAfee's like, "Where's he going? What is he doing?" And he's getting dolled up for it with his Notre Dame stuff. But that show it's timeless to me. God, I love that show. It's just such a fun way to kick off what's going to be a full Saturday full of football. And I've always said, Vic, inside the NBA is the best sports show that exists. I put Game Day right underneath it, number 2.
Yeah, I agree. It's part of the tradition of watching college football, right? That's how you start your Saturday morning. And it's perfectly timed, too. You wake up, you get out of bed Saturday morning, and you're like, all right, what do we got?
What'd you think about Saban, by the way, on there?
I thought he was great.
Yeah, I thought he was all right.
I thought he was fine. I thought he was great. I mean, the mix is good. You need, the silly and you need the fun.
Well, did you hear Saban do this?
I just want to say, you guys keep talking about a $20 million roster.
Yeah.
If you don't pay the right guys, you'll be out of luck.
Yeah. And that wasn't beeped out on television, by the way.
That's life, baby. That's
Only
life.
Saban could get away with this.
You just broke the internet.
Well, they've had a few of those.
You can do it.
Nick Saban and Corso has done quite a bit of that too. I forget the one where he just dropped.
It was last year. I know the one you're talking about.
No, this was a few years ago. He's had a couple of them, but he'll say something and everybody's just like, it's when he was about to make the pick. This was years ago, Vic. And I think it was Texas A&M and somebody else. And he holds up the Texas A&M, like, what do you call them? Loudspeaker thing, that little whatever, voice amplifier. And he goes, bleep it. And chucks it and grabs the other one for his pick. There's only a couple of guys.
Where the hell is McAfee getting all this money to give away, by the way? Somebody makes a kick. Here's $50,000.
Oh, it's probably who's the show sponsored by? Is it FanDuel or whoever it is?
Somebody's
It's got to be somebody doing that. Because that kid did make the kick, right?
The second time. Missed the first time, and he gave him a second chance.
Gotcha.
And he knuckleballed one through.
I still feel like I could do that.
You think you can make a 40-yarder?
Maybe not 40. I didn't know it was 40. 30 yards, I'm good.
Seriously?
I think I could do it. Yeah.
Don't try it?
I would love to try it. Every time we were out there at training camp, I looked at those goalposts. I was like, just give me one kick.
Okay, remember now, it's a little different when you have to kick off the ground, off the turf, versus a tee or off somebody's foot.
Oh, yeah.
Different deal. Different story.
No. I get that. I still think I could do it. Again, I don't overestimate my athletic abilities, but I think a 30-yarder, I could do it. Who's the most disappointing team in week 1 of college football?
Florida State 2 weeks in a row is 0-2 before week 2, so they're very disappointing.
I think you could give a little bit of that over to Florida. Like, just the state of Florida was bad. Florida State, yes, 0-2 and 0-2 in conference play before week 2 of the season even starts is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that Florida lost, they have no hope. The Gators don't.
Well,
anymore.
we didn't see many, ranked teams play each other in week 1. We saw Texas A&M and Notre Dame play each other.
USC and LSU.
Exactly. LSU's got to be disappointed because their head coach pounded the table in disappointment.
Well, the Florida and Miami game wasn't 2 ranked teams, but it was still a big matchup.
Sure.
Still a big matchup between the two. And for them to get worked like that by Miami was a huge wake-up call. I'll tell you right now, what do you do if you're Clemson? Dabo Swinney's won 2 national titles for you.
Well, he won't take transfer portals.
You can't not do that in today's college football.
He won't do it.
Or else it's going to look exactly the way it looked against Georgia. They hung in there early, but then became very apparent that they had no shot in that game.
Remember how for years the Green Bay Packers would not jump into free agency? They just didn't want to do it.
Which frustrated the franchise quarterback to the point of leaving.
At some point, he's going to have to play the portal game. You will not survive without it. You can't.
But if he's that staunchly against it and said, I'm not going to do it, do you just say, all right, then we're going to have to go in a different direction?
Well, what is that direction?
Somebody else who's going to play the game.
You can't. You're not Alabama. You can't go recruit a 17-year-old who skips his senior year of high school and comes out and tears it up in his first game.
They've had good recruiting classes. They've had good ones. I mean, they've had your Trevor Lawrences and Deshaun Watsons and guys like that. They could.
But that's the old way, dude. I mean, the new age of college football, it is what it is. And us old heads got to get, he's an old head. You got to get up to speed. You're not going to win without the portal. You're not.
Dude, you know what? Coach K did this. Coach K was super against one and dones,
He
remember?
was. He made it
then
known.
he realized that I can't win without doing this.
And then Zion showed up.
Yes. Like, you have to change. And if you can't, then I'm going to force a change for you.
Yeah.
That would drive me nuts. And look, like, Air Force cannot do that. They are not allowed.
They have government restrictions.
Yes, they can't. So that one makes sense. And they have to make do with what they have. Every other team in college football that doesn't have a restriction like that should 1,000% be playing that game. And how much money Clemson has? They could be as good as anybody else in the portal. I can't believe he refuses to do that. And it's like, well, then have fun losing 34-3. Because that's what's going to happen.
You asked the biggest loser week one. I'd say the ACC.
God, it was bad for them.
Yeah, the ACC is the biggest loser.
And I'll tell you this right now, Vic. They can't afford to have an underwhelming season because that thing could blow up that fast.
Well, it should maybe.
Yeah.
They have all these contracts in place. That's why teams can't leave. Florida State trying to leave.
Right.
They can't leave because they owe so much money. But maybe the conference folding the way it has so far is the best thing that can happen. They'll get eaten up by other conferences, and we'll get on. You know what? In my respect, get on with it. Let's get on to these super conferences. What are we waiting for?
Basically there. I mean, the Big Ten has 18 teams.
What are we waiting for?
So what, Big Ten, SEC, and Big 12? Those are the big three, and you just kind of go from there?
My vision is 2 super conferences. 2. That's it.
It's too many teams left out. Too much TV money left on the table. I think there would have to be 3. Now, another thing just to keep an eye on here, as far as like marquee games, big matchup games for the SEC, I believe they went 1-3 in those games. So Georgia got the win over Clemson. That was a big marquee game. But Texas A&M lost to Notre Dame. Florida lost to Miami. And what's the other one I'm missing here? LSU lost to USC.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad if you're an SEC hater this weekend. That the opening week in marquee SEC matchups, non-conference matchups, they went 1-3.
By the way, did you see the numbers on that Thursday night CU game? I mean, shattered records for kickoff games on Thursday night. Just shattered them.
And this is what's
Eyeballs
amazing.
Are there, bro.
The dumbest thing that Fine Mom said out of all the stuff is when he said that they're irrelevant.
Well, they're relevant, all right. Look at the numbers.
You can't say that for a team that brings this many eyeballs to the table. You just can't. And the total numbers here you go. This is from Front Office Sports. Colorado's win over North Dakota State averaged 4.8 million viewers, peaking at 5.6. It was ESPN's best Thursday opener in 7 years and up 49% over last season. That's an FCS opponent that they were going up against. Like, it doesn't matter. Dion and CU, they're a cash cow. By the way, do you know what that did with all the eyeballs that it brought, along with the Travis Hunter performance? And I'm going to be looking at this. You know what? We'll do like a check-in every single week, Vic. BetMGM has odds on guys to win the Heisman. Nobody made a bigger jump over week 1 than Travis Hunter. He started the year at plus 5,000. He's now at plus 1,500, 4th right now in Heisman odds.
Did you see he's in a national commercial, too? He's in...
he should be.
Yeah.
Should be.
The dude's the best player. After watching 2 weeks of college football, week 0, week 1, he's the biggest game breaker out there.
Yep.
On both sides of the ball.
No question. The only guys ahead of him right now in the Heisman odds, Cam Ward is first. He's at plus 950. Jackson Dart, the quarterback at Ole Miss, he's at plus 1,000. And help me out again, Nelly. What's my Tennessee boy's name? Iama Liava? Iamaleava, the Tennessee quarterback who had a great opener for them, is at plus 1,000. And after that, it's Travis Hunter at 1,500. And then in 5th place, Vic, is Shedeur at plus 2,000.
We have breaking news in the National Hockey League. Mark Mosier's not here to break this news. Leon Draisaitl just signed a new deal with the Edmonton Oilers. 8 years. $14 million AAV.
$14 million per.
Highest paid player in the National Hockey League.
Just for comparison's sake, his teammate, who is widely seen as the best hockey player in the world, Connor McDavid, has an 8-year deal that is worth $12.5 per. So a full 1.5 more, and I get it, he signed the contract later, but still.
For now. That's a lot of money for an NHL player on a salary cap restricted sport where every dollar counts, right? You're trying to formulate a team. You're trying to put players around him. For the time being, they're going to remain a one-line team.
I'm going to make a comparison between them and the Nuggets for a second, because it's hard to know how good Draisaitl is because he's in that ether of Connor McDavid, right? Like, he's just going to acquire points just because he's playing on the same line as him. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, I'm not downgrading him as a player. He's an excellent player. But it's kind of the same questions we have about guys like Jamal and MPJ and Aaron Gordon and guys like that, right? If they were off on their own, do they look the same as they would when they're around Nikola Jokic? Yeah. And the answer is probably not. But also, you got to pay those guys because the production is immeasurable. Like, Draisaitl is always, top 5 in points every single year in the NHL?
He's an amazing player. He really is.
$14 million a year, though, and this is where the next question becomes, Vic, well, Mikko's contract's almost up. Is Mikko going to be hovering around the 14 mil range?
Again, I mean, some players will take less just to stay in certain spots.
Right.
And now, I don't know, when is McDavid's contract up again? I mean,
he signed it, I think, recently.
Okay, so he's not going to do any leapfrogging anytime soon. But if you're paying Draisaitl that...
So he's got a couple years left. 2 years.
Principally speaking, he can't make more than Connor McDavid.
On principle.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure this out.
But for a while, Mikko was making more than everybody here.
Yeah.
Everybody leapfrogs. I get it.
So this wasn't recently. I thought this was just a couple of years ago. But no, McDavid's only got, it's through 2026. So he's got this year and next year left on his contract. And then what? He could ask for 16, 17 a year?
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. But Draisaitl, an 8-year contract with Edmonton at 14 per.
And it starts in the 25-26 season is when this contract kicks into effect with the $14 million per.
Yeah. Yeah, Texture says the Scottie Pippen argument. Yeah, it's like, is Scottie Pippen a top 50 player all time if he's not around Michael Jordan? Probably not, but he was. And his production with him is undeniable.
Right place, right time, baby.
Yep. 303-504-0925. Shop Mazda text line back after this. Circa Sports available right now in Colorado, and that brand new Circa Sports app, which is beautiful. And you should go take a look because we are entering week 1 of the NFL season along with week 2 of the college football season. An early look for this weekend at both games between the Broncos and the Buffs. The Broncos 6-point dogs as they go on the road at Seattle in Bo Nix's debut. Colorado 7-point dogs as they go on the road to Lincoln. If you like those odds, jump on them right now on the Circa Sportsbook. Take a look at some of the futures as well. You can bet Offensive Rookie of the Year with Bo Nix. You can bet on the Heisman odds if you think that Travis Hunter's going to have a good shot at the end of the year, or Shedeur Sanders. All of that available on the Circa Sports app with the best odds in the game. Download it right now or go to circasports.com, and always remember, any gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. You just going to listen to show tunes all day? What's going on over there? The hell are you doing?
Watching this Manning cast, they did a musical. It's pretty deeply produced, so I'm watching it. It's 8 minutes and 47 seconds long. It's on the internet.
Why'd they do it? Just having some fun?
Yeah. Just to kick off another season of the Manning cast.
Speaking of, 2 days away from the opener to the NFL season, Baltimore at Kansas City, as Kansas City opens up on Thursday Night Football again. Can we just look around the NFL, Vic, and just get a general sort of temperature feel of which teams you think will surprise some people, which teams you think will take a step back?
Would you agree the best game of the week, opening week, is the first game? It's the Thursday nighter. It's Kansas City, Baltimore. That's the best game of the week.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, I don't know how it gets much better than that. Packers-Eagles is that Brazil game, which maybe that's okay, but I think that's the one, sure. All I know is I can't wait for that 11 o'clock start, and I get my red zone where he's jumping around 8 billion games again. So it's my favorite holiday of the year is that right there. 11 o'clock, that opening Sunday of the NFL season where I get like the 8 screens on red zone.
And that's why this weekend is the ideal weekend for a Broncos fan, because you get to enjoy red zone in the morning, and then you get a Bronco game in the afternoon. It's perfect.
But just kind of looking around the league, let me ask you a few basic questions about some teams. Do you buy the Jet stuff? Healthy Aaron Rodgers means that they're going to be a threat in the AFC and perhaps a Super Bowl contender.
I don't know about Super Bowl contender, but they'll make the playoffs. They should with Aaron Rodgers healthy. They should.
Because that's outside the Patriots. The AFC East is pretty difficult.
You tell me.
I mean, it's Miami, it's the Jets, and then I do think the Bills regress a bit. They lost a lot this offseason. Offloaded a whole bunch of talent because they couldn't afford it anymore. But they still got Josh Allen.
Are you a believer in Tony Montana and the Miami Dolphins?
Yes. Now, the only concern I have with them is it's the same tired thing, but if they got to play a game, let's say they got